I called my son to tell him his father was gone. His voice came through rushed, distracted. Mom, it's Lisa's birthday today. Can this wait till tomorrow? My heart stopped. Not from the pain of losing Tom, but from the sting of those words. My son, my only child, chose a party over his father's death. 3 weeks later, he got a letter from my lawyer. His face went pale as he read it. I'd done something he'd never see coming, and I never spoke a word about it. If you're listening, please like, subscribe, and share in the comments one life lesson you wish you'd learned sooner. It might save someone else. Tom died at our dining table mid-sentence, laughing about the burnt toast I'd made that morning. Evelyn, you'll kill me with this charcoal, he teased, his eyes crinkling. Then his laugh caught, his hand jerked, and his coffee mug tipped over. I froze, the butter knife in my hand clattering to the floor. His eyes went wide, like he was surprised by his own body. I screamed his name, but he was already slipping away, his head tilting against the chair. I grabbed his shoulders, shaking him, begging him to stay, but his warmth was fading under my fingers. The 911 operator's voice was steady, telling me to press on his chest, count the beats. I tried, my hands trembling. But I knew. I knew from the way his fingers went cold, the way his smile vanished. The paramedics came, their voices a blur. Heart attack, no response, DNR. I nodded, numb as they covered him. The house turned too quiet, the kind of quiet that screams. I sat on the couch, staring at the spilled coffee, its dark stain spreading across the table. Hours passed before I picked up my phone. I called James, my son. It rang 6 times. When he answered, his voice was light, like he was at a party. Mom, what's up? We're kind of busy. I swallowed the lump in my throat and said, James, your dad just died. He's gone. There was a pause, then he said, Oh, Mom, it's Lisa's birthday. Can I call you later? We've got guests. My mind couldn't process it. I thought I'd misheard, but he kept talking, something about a brunch Lisa planned. I didn't scream or cry. I just hung up, my hand shaking so hard the phone slipped to the floor. The room felt like it was closing in, the air heavy with the weight of his words. I looked at Tom's chair, his body still there, waiting for the coroner. I sat beside him, holding his cold hand, willing it to move. It didn't. The coroner came, asked if I needed a moment. I shook my head. What was a moment when my whole world was gone? I went upstairs, locked the bedroom door, and lay on our bed, Tom's pillow still smelling like his aftershave. I found his phone on the nightstand, a missed call logged from last night, 10:15 p.m. to James. No answer, no voicemail. Tom had tried to reach him, maybe sensing something was wrong. And James ignored it. I clutched the phone, my chest tight with a pain sharper than grief. It was betrayal, raw and real. I stared at the ceiling, thinking of the 38 years Tom and I built. Our home, our memories, the sacrifices he made working late to provide for us. And James, our only son, couldn't even answer a call. The funeral was in 3 days. I called James again, hoping he'd come. Lisa answered, her voice chirpy. Oh, Evelyn, he's still deciding. We booked a weekend trip for my birthday and the cancellation fees are crazy. I didn't respond. I just hung up, my hands shaking with a mix of hurt and anger. The funeral came, and I stood by Tom's casket, gripping the podium to keep from falling. Friends and neighbors filled the church, their whispers loud in my ears. Where's James? Is he okay? I nodded at their condolences, my face a mask, but inside, I was breaking. Tom's old friend Mike hugged me and said, I thought James would be here front row. I forced a smile, but my heart sank deeper. During the service, I kept looking at the door, hoping James would walk in. He didn't. After, at the reception, Tom's coworker, Sarah, pulled me aside. I don't want to overstep, but Tom mentioned helping James with money last month. He seemed worried. My stomach twisted. Tom never told me. We shared everything, or so I thought. I thanked Sarah, excused myself, and hid in the bathroom, staring at the tiles, trying to breathe. That night, alone in our house, I opened Tom's desk drawer. I found bank statements, receipts, and a folder labeled James. My hands shook as I opened it. Wire transfers, $1, $500 for $1,000, $10,000 labeled Lisa's surgery. Over a year, thousands of dollars sent to James. I had no idea. A note was tucked inside, in Tom's handwriting, addressed to James. Stop lying about the money. I've kept this from your mother, but if you misuse it again, it ends. It was dated a week before Tom died. He never sent it. I sat there, the paper crumpling in my grip, realizing Tom had been shielding me from James's lies. And James, who couldn't come to the funeral, had taken all that money without a word. I locked the folder away, not ready to face what it meant, but knowing something had to change. I sat at the kitchen table, Tom's unwashed coffee mug still in the sink, staring at the folder of James's transfers. The house was too quiet, like it was holding its breath. My hands shook as I read Tom's note again, his words cutting deeper each time. Stop lying about the money. How could James, the boy we raised to tell the truth, do this? I felt like I was losing him, just like I lost Tom. The phone rang, snapping me out of it. It was James. I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the answer button, but I picked up. Mom, you okay? He asked, his voice soft, like he was testing the waters. I gripped the phone tight. Why didn't you come to the funeral, James? There was a long pause, then a sigh. Lisa's birthday was a big deal, Mom. She's been through a lot. I didn't want to ruin it. I swallowed hard, my voice steady but cold. Your father died, and you thought a party was more important? He stumbled over his words. It wasn't like that. I didn't know it was so sudden. You didn't say he was sick. I wanted to scream, but I kept my voice low. He wasn't sick, James. He was laughing 1 minute, gone the next. And you weren't there. He went quiet again, then mumbled. I'm sorry, okay? I'll come by tomorrow. I didn't believe him. Don't bother, I said and hung up before he could reply. My chest felt tight, like I couldn't breathe. I walked to Tom's chair, ran my fingers over its worn armrest, and sat down. It still smelled like him, coffee and old books. I closed my eyes, picturing him there, telling me to be strong. But I wasn't sure I could be. The next morning, I woke up with a heaviness I couldn't shake. I made coffee, avoiding Tom's mug, and stared out the window. The mailbox caught my eye, a small envelope sticking out. I walked outside, the cold air biting my skin, and pulled it out. My name was written in a child's careful handwriting, Sophie, my granddaughter. My heart skipped. She was only 11, but her writing was neat, deliberate. Inside was a folded note and a tiny key. The note read, Grandma, I found something. I'm scared to tell Mom and Dad. Please look. The key felt heavy in my palm, like it held secrets I wasn't ready for. I went back inside, my hands trembling, and searched for what the key might open. In Tom's study, I found a locked box under his desk, one I'd never noticed. The key fit perfectly. Inside was a journal, its pages filled with Tom's handwriting. I sat on the floor, heart pounding, and started reading. He wrote about James, how he'd been asking for money for months, car repairs, rent, Lisa's medical bills. Tom suspected James was lying but kept sending the money, hoping he'd come clean. One entry, dated 2 days before he died, said, I called James last night. No answer. I can't keep this from Evelyn much longer. He's breaking her heart. Tears blurred my vision. Tom had been carrying this alone, protecting me. I felt a mix of love and anger. Love for his loyalty, anger at James for putting him through that. The phone rang again. It was Lisa this time. Evelyn, James said you're upset, she started, her voice sharp. You can't guilt him for missing the funeral. We had plans. I gripped the journal, my voice shaking. Plans. Lisa, Tom was your family. You took his money and didn't even show up to say goodbye. She laughed, short and bitter. Money? He offered it. We didn't ask. I didn't believe her. I found the records, Lisa. Thousands of dollars. What was it for? She paused, then snapped. That's none of your business. James is your son. Stop treating him like a criminal. I wanted to yell, but I heard a small sound behind me, Sophie standing in the doorway, her eyes wide. She'd come over without telling her parents. Grandma, she whispered. I heard them talking. They're lying. My heart stopped. I motioned her to sit, keeping the phone on. What did you hear, Sophie? I asked softly. Lisa was still talking, not realizing Sophie was there. You're just grieving, Evelyn. You're not thinking straight. Sophie's voice trembled. They said the money was for a trip, not a surgery. I heard Mom tell Dad to keep it quiet. I felt a chill run through me. I put the phone on speaker. Lisa, Sophie's here. She says you lied about the money. There was a long silence, then Lisa's voice panicked. Sophie? What are you doing there? Sophie looked at me, her eyes filling with tears. I'm sorry, Grandma. I didn't know what to do. I hugged her tight, whispering, You did the right thing. I hung up on Lisa, my mind racing. Sophie's words were a spark, lighting a fire I didn't know I had. I looked at the journal, the transfers, the note from Tom. James and Lisa thought they could hide their lies, but Sophie had seen through them. I wasn't just grieving anymore. I was angry, and that anger felt like strength. I took Sophie's hand and said, We're going to make this right, okay? She nodded, her small face fierce. I didn't know what I'd do yet, but I knew I couldn't let this go. Tom deserved better, and so did Sophie. I held Sophie's hand, her small fingers trembling in mine, as we sat on the couch. Tom's journal lay open on the coffee table, its pages staring at me like they held the truth I wasn't ready for. Sophie's words echoed in my head. They said the money was for a trip, not a surgery. I felt sick, betrayed, but a fire was growing inside me. I looked at Sophie, her eyes red from crying, and asked, What else did you hear, sweetheart? She bit her lip, nervous. Mom said they needed more money for something big. Dad told her not to tell you, that you'd get mad. My stomach twisted. I pulled her close, whispering, You're so brave for telling me. She hugged me back, and for a moment, I felt Tom's strength in her. The doorbell rang, sharp and loud. I froze, thinking it might be James or Lisa. Sophie's eyes widened, but I squeezed her hand and said, Stay here. I opened the door to find Karen, my neighbor, holding a casserole dish. Evelyn, I just wanted to check on you, she said, her voice soft. I saw Sophie come in. Is everything okay? I forced a smile, not wanting to worry her. We're fine, Karen. Just talking. She hesitated, glancing past me. I heard James didn't come to the funeral. People are talking. I nodded, my throat tight. Thanks for the food. I'll call you later. I closed the door, my heart racing. People were talking, and I hadn't even faced the full truth yet. Back on the couch, Sophie pulled out her phone. Grandma, there's something else, she said, her voice barely a whisper. She tapped the screen and played a recording. It was Lisa's voice, clear and cold. James, if Evelyn finds out we used the money for the beach house, she'll cut us off. Tell her it was for my hospital bills. Then James mumbling, She won't check. She's too upset about Dad. I felt like the air was sucked out of the room. A beach house? All that money Tom sent, thinking it was for Lisa's health, was for a vacation home? I gripped the couch, my nails digging into the fabric. Sophie stopped the recording, tears in her eyes. I recorded it last week. I didn't know what to do. I hugged her tight, my voice shaking. You did the right thing, Sophie. I'm so proud of you. My mind spun. Tom worked overtime for years, missing dinners, to provide for us. And James took that money for a beach house, lying to his dying father. I stood up, pacing the living room, trying to calm the storm inside me. Grandma, what are we going to do? Sophie asked, her voice small but steady. I stopped, looking at her. We're going to find out everything, I said. No more lies. I grabbed Tom's journal and flipped through it, searching for more clues. A phone number was scribbled on the last page, labeled Mark Lawyer. I didn't know any Mark, but Tom trusted him. I dialed the number, my heart pounding. A man answered, his voice calm. Mark Reynolds, attorney. Who's this? I took a deep breath. Evelyn, Tom's wife. I found your number in his journal. Did he talk to you about James? Mark paused, then said, Tom called me a month ago. He was worried about money going to James. He wanted to protect you and Sophie. My knees felt weak. I sat down, clutching the phone. Protect us how? I asked. Mark's voice softened. He asked me to draft a new will. He didn't sign it before he passed. But he wanted Sophie to get everything, not James. I nearly dropped the phone. Tom knew James was lying, and he was going to cut him out? I thanked Mark, promising to call back, and hung up. Sophie was watching me, her eyes wide. What did he say, Grandma? I didn't want to scare her, so I said, your grandpa loved you so much. He wanted to make sure you're okay. She nodded, but I could tell she sensed more. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing Tom's handwriting, hearing Lisa's voice on Sophie's recording. I got up and went to the attic, where Tom kept old files. I found a box labeled Family. Inside were photos, James as a kid, smiling with Tom at a fishing trip, and a USB drive. My heart raced as I plugged it into my laptop. It had emails between Tom and James, going back 2 years. James wrote, Dad, we need help. Lisa's surgery is expensive. Tom replied, send me the bills. I'll take care of it. But there were no bills, just more emails from James asking for more. The last email, sent the day Tom died, was from Tom. James, we need to talk. No more money until you explain. James never replied. I slammed the laptop shut, tears streaming down my face. Tom knew, and he was going to confront him. I felt a new twist in my gut. James might have known Tom was onto him. Did that have anything to do with his death? I pushed the thought away, but it lingered, dark and heavy. The next morning, Sophie was still at my house. Lisa called, her voice sharp. Evelyn, send Sophie home. You're upsetting her. I gripped the phone, my voice steady. She's staying with me. You lied about the money, Lisa. I know about the beach house. She gasped, then snapped, you're crazy. Sophie's filling your head with lies. I looked at Sophie, who was listening, her face pale. No, Lisa. I have proof. I hung up, my hands shaking. Sophie whispered, are we in trouble? I knelt beside her, my voice firm. No, sweetheart. We're going to make things right for your grandpa. I knew then I had to act, but I needed more than emails and recordings. I needed to protect Sophie, like Tom wanted. I sat with Sophie in the living room. The USB drive still warm from my laptop, its emails burning in my mind. James and Lisa lied about a surgery to take Tom's money for a beach house, and Tom knew before he died. My heart ached, but Sophie's small hand in mine kept me grounded. I looked at her, her face pale but determined, and said, we need to be smart about this, okay? No telling your parents yet. She nodded, her eyes fierce. I won't, Grandma. I promise. The phone buzzed again, James this time. I let it ring, my stomach churning. When it stopped, a voicemail popped up. Mom, Lisa says you're accusing us of stuff. Call me back. We need to talk. His voice sounded nervous, not sorry. I deleted it, my hands shaking. I couldn't face him yet. I needed more answers. I called Mark, the lawyer, again. Mark, it's Evelyn, I said, my voice low so Sophie wouldn't hear everything. I found emails. James took money for a beach house, not a surgery. Did Tom know? Mark sighed. He suspected it. He asked me to check James's bank records. I found transfers to an account in Lisa's name, linked to a property in Florida. Tom was going to confront them. My breath caught. Florida? He never told me. Mark's voice softened. He didn't want you hurt, Evelyn. He left a letter with me for you, in case he didn't get to sign the new will. My heart stopped. A letter? Can I see it? Mark agreed to meet me the next day. I hung up, my mind racing. A letter from Tom? What else was he hiding to protect me? Sophie tugged my sleeve. Grandma, are you okay? You look scared. I forced a smile, brushing her hair back. I'm not scared, sweetheart. Just figuring things out. But I was scared of what I'd find, scared of losing Sophie to James and Lisa's lies. That night, I tucked Sophie into the guest bed. Her small frame curled under Tom's old quilt. I sat by her, watching her sleep, and thought of Tom's smile, his quiet strength. I whispered, I'll make this right, Tom. For you and Sophie. The next morning, I drove to Mark's office, leaving Sophie with Karen next door. Mark handed me a sealed envelope, Tom's handwriting on the front. Evelyn, my love. My hands trembled as I opened it. Tom's words spilled out, steady and clear. If you're reading this, I'm gone. James has been lying about the money. I gave him too many chances, thinking he'd change. Protect Sophie. She's the best of us. The will I drafted with Mark gives everything to her trust fund, not James. I'm sorry I kept this from you. I love you always. Tears fell on the paper, smudging the ink. I looked at Mark, my voice breaking. He knew all along. Why didn't he tell me? Mark leaned forward. He wanted to fix it himself. He thought he had time. I clutched the letter, anger mixing with grief. Time was stolen from us. I asked, can we use the will he drafted? Even if he didn't sign it? Mark nodded. It shows his intent. With the emails and Sophie's recording, we can build a case. But James might fight it. I felt a spark of resolve. Let him try. When I got home, Sophie was waiting, her eyes wide. Did you get the letter, Grandma? I nodded, sitting beside her. Your grandpa wanted you to be safe. He loved you so much. She hugged me, whispering, I miss him. I held her tight, my heart aching. Then the doorbell rang. It was James standing there, his face red. Mom, why's Sophie here? Lisa's freaking out. I stepped outside, closing the door so Sophie wouldn't hear. You lied, James. The money wasn't for a surgery. It was for a beach house. His eyes widened, then narrowed. Who told you that? Sophie? She's a kid, Mom. She doesn't know anything. I held up Tom's letter, not letting him see it. Your dad knew. He wrote it down. You broke his heart. James's face went pale. You're twisting things. We needed that money. You don't get it. I stepped closer, my voice steady. I get it. You chose a beach house over your father's funeral. He opened his mouth, but no words came. He turned and walked away, his shoulders slumped. I went back inside, my heart pounding. Sophie was listening from the stairs, her eyes wet. Is Dad mad at me? She asked. I knelt down, taking her hands. No, sweetheart. He's mad at himself. You did nothing wrong. That night, I found a small notebook in Sophie's backpack, tucked between her school books. It was her diary, filled with notes about her parents' fights. One entry said, Mom told Dad to sell the beach house before Grandma finds out. Dad said it's too late. My blood ran cold. They were planning to hide it even now. Another twist hit me. Sophie's diary mentioned a man named Greg, someone Lisa called late at night. Greg says we can get more money if we sell fast, Sophie wrote. Who was Greg? I didn't know, but it felt like another lie waiting to unravel. I tucked the diary away, my mind spinning with questions. Tom's letter, Sophie's recordings, the emails, and now this Greg. Every piece was a step toward the truth. I looked at Sophie, asleep on the couch, and knew I had to keep going for her. I stood in the kitchen, Sophie's diary in my hands, the name Greg staring back at me. Who was he, and why was Lisa calling him late at night about the beach house? My heart raced, a mix of anger and fear twisting inside me. Sophie was asleep on the couch, her small chest rising and falling, Tom's quilt tucked around her. I felt a surge of protectiveness. She was all I had left of Tom's heart. I slipped the diary back into her backpack, not wanting her to know I'd read it yet. The house felt heavy, like it was holding secrets it couldn't wait to spill. I sat at the table, Tom's letter beside me, his words echoing. Protect Sophie. She's the best of us. I knew I had to act, but every new piece, Sophie's recordings, the emails, now Greg, made the truth feel darker. The phone rang, shattering the silence. It was Karen, my neighbor. Evelyn, I saw James's car outside earlier. Is everything okay? Her voice was worried, soft. I sighed, rubbing my temple. Not really, Karen. He's upset, but I'm handling it. She paused, then said, I didn't want to say before, but I saw Lisa with a man at the coffee shop last week. Not James. They looked close. My breath caught. What did he look like? I asked. Karen described him, tall, dark hair, wearing a suit. I heard her call him Greg, she added. My hands shook. Greg again. I thanked Karen and hung up, my mind spinning. Was Lisa hiding more than the beach house? I needed answers. I called Mark, the lawyer, my voice urgent. Mark, I found something in Sophie's diary about a man named Greg. Lisa's been talking to him about selling the beach house. Do you know anything? Mark went quiet, then said. Tom mentioned a Greg once. Said he was a real estate guy James owed money to. Tom thought he was trouble. My stomach dropped. Trouble how? I asked. Mark's voice was grim. Tom said Greg pushed James to borrow more than he could pay back. That's why Tom kept sending money, to keep Greg off James's back. I gripped the phone, my knuckles white. Why didn't Tom tell me? Mark sighed. He was ashamed, Evelyn. Didn't want you to think less of James. I felt tears prick my eyes. Tom carried so much alone. I thanked Mark and hung up, my resolve hardening. I had to find out who Greg was. The next morning, Sophie woke up early, her eyes puffy but alert. Grandma, can I stay here today? She asked, her voice small. I nodded, brushing her hair back. Of course, sweetheart. You're safe here. She hugged me, and I felt her trembling. I heard Mom and Dad fighting last night before I came here. Mom said Greg's getting impatient. My heart skipped. Did she say why? I asked, keeping my voice calm. Sophie shook her head. Just that they need to sell something fast. I hugged her tighter, my mind racing. I needed to dig deeper, but I didn't want to scare her. I drove to the library, where I could use the public computer to search without James or Lisa knowing. I typed Greg Real Estate Florida, and found a website for Greg Carson, a broker specializing in beachfront properties. His photo matched Karen's description: tall, dark hair, sharp suit. My hands shook as I clicked through his site. There was a listing for a beach house, recently sold, with a price tag that matched the transfers in Tom's folder. I printed the page, my heart pounding. This was it, the house they lied about. Back home, I showed Sophie the printout, careful not to overwhelm her. Is this what your mom meant by selling something? I asked. She nodded, her eyes wide. I think so. She showed Dad pictures of a house like that. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of it all. We're going to fix this, Sophie. I promise. That afternoon, James showed up unannounced, banging on the door. Mom, open up. Why's Sophie still here? I let him in, my face calm but my heart racing. Sophie hid behind me, clutching my hand. She's staying with me, I said. James's face reddened. You're turning her against us. Lisa's right. You're out of control. I held up the printout of the beach house. Out of control? You took Dad's money for this, James. You lied to him. He froze, his eyes darting to the paper. Where'd you get that? He snapped. I stepped closer, my voice low. From the truth. Who's Greg Carson? His face went pale, like I'd caught him stealing. Nobody, he muttered, but his voice shook. You're making this bigger than it is. I didn't back down. Tom knew James. He wrote it all down. And Sophie heard you and Lisa talking about Greg. Sophie's voice piped up, small but clear. You said Greg's mad because you didn't pay him. James turned to her, his eyes wide. Sophie, stop it. You don't know what you heard. I pulled her behind me, my voice steady. Don't talk to her like that. Get out, James. He stood there, breathing hard, then left, slamming the door. Sophie started crying, and I knelt down, hugging her. You're so brave, I whispered. We're going to make this right. That night, I found an old photo of Tom and Sophie at the park, laughing on a swing. I held it close, my heart breaking. Another twist hit me. I remembered Tom's safe in the basement, one he rarely opened. Maybe it held more answers. I grabbed the key from his desk, my hands trembling, and headed downstairs, not knowing what I'd find but ready to face it. I stood in the basement, the air cold and musty, holding the key to Tom's safe. My heart pounded as I knelt by the old metal box, its lock rusted but solid. Sophie was upstairs, drawing at the kitchen table, her presence giving me strength. I turned the key, the click echoing in the quiet. Inside was a stack of papers, a small recorder, and a letter sealed with my name. My hands shook as I opened it. Tom's handwriting was shaky, like he wrote it in a hurry. Evelyn, if you're reading this, I didn't get to tell you everything. James is in deeper than I thought. Greg Carson isn't just a broker, he's dangerous. I paid him to keep him away from James, but it didn't work. Protect Sophie. Use the recorder. My stomach twisted. Dangerous? I grabbed the recorder, my fingers clumsy, and pressed play. Tom's voice filled the room, tired but firm. James, this is your last chance. Greg called me yesterday, said you owe him $50,000. I paid half but no more. Tell your mother the truth. The recording cut off. I sat back, my breath shallow. Tom was dealing with this alone, shielding me from some kind of threat. I felt a mix of love and fury. Love for his sacrifice, fury at James for dragging us into this. I tucked the letter and recorder into my pocket, my mind racing. Who was Greg Carson, really? The doorbell rang upstairs, sharp and insistent. I locked the safe and ran up, finding Sophie peeking out the window. It's a man, Grandma, she whispered, her eyes wide. Not Dad. I looked through the peephole and saw a tall man in a suit. Greg. My heart stopped. I told Sophie to stay quiet and opened the door just a crack. Can I help you? I asked, my voice steady despite the fear. He smiled too smooth. Mrs. Parker? I'm Greg Carson. I need to talk about James. I gripped the doorframe. What about him? His smile didn't waver. He owes me money. Your husband was helping, but now that he's gone, I need to settle with you. My blood ran cold. I don't know anything about that, I said, starting to close the door. He put his hand on it, stopping me. Let's not make this hard, Evelyn. I know about the beach house. James said you'd pay to keep things quiet. I felt Sophie behind me, her small hand on my back. I turned, whispering, Go to your room now. She obeyed, her footsteps soft. I faced Greg, my voice low. Get off my porch, or I call the police. He laughed, stepping back. You'll hear from me again. He left, and I locked the door, my hands shaking. Sophie ran back, hugging me. Was that him? She asked, her voice trembling. I nodded, holding her tight. Don't worry, sweetheart. He's not getting near you. But I was worried. Greg's threat felt real, and James had pulled us into his mess. I called Mark, my voice urgent. Mark, Greg Carson just showed up at my house. He says James owes him money. Tom left a recording about it. Mark's tone sharpened. Don't talk to him again. I'll look into Greg. Can you bring the recording? I agreed to meet him the next day. After hanging up, I sat with Sophie, trying to stay calm for her. Grandma, why's that man mad at Dad? She asked, her eyes searching mine. I took a deep breath. Your dad made some bad choices, but we're going to fix it. She nodded, but I saw the fear in her face. That night, I couldn't sleep, Tom's recorder beside me. I played it again, hearing his voice, so tired but determined. Another twist hit me. There was a second file on the recorder. I pressed play, and it was Tom again, whispering. Evelyn, if something happens to me, check the safe deposit box at the bank. Keys in my desk. Don't tell James. My heart raced. A safe deposit box? I hadn't known about that either. I searched Tom's desk, finding a small key taped under a drawer. It had a bank logo and a number. I clutched it, my mind spinning. What else was Tom hiding? The next morning, I took Sophie to Karen's, not wanting her near the bank. Karen hugged me, whispering, Be careful, Evelyn. I heard Greg's name around town. He's not someone you mess with. I nodded, my stomach tight. At the bank, the clerk led me to the safe deposit box. Inside was a folder with a new will, signed by Tom, dated a week before he died. It left everything, our house, savings, everything, to Sophie's trust fund, with me as the trustee until she turned 18. A note was attached. Evelyn, James can't be trusted. This is for Sophie. Tears stung my eyes. Tom had done this for her, knowing James's lies. I took the folder, my hands trembling, and left the bank, feeling his love in every word. When I got home, Lisa was waiting in my driveway, her face red. Evelyn, you're keeping Sophie from me, she yelled. I held the folder tight, my voice calm. You lied about the money, Lisa. And now Greg Carson's threatening me. Her eyes widened, but she snapped. You're paranoid. Give me my daughter. I stepped closer. Not until you tell me who Greg is and why James owes him. She froze, then turned and got in her car, speeding off. Sophie ran out, crying. Is Mom mad at me? I hugged her, whispering, No, sweetheart. She's scared. We're going to protect you, like Grandpa wanted. I knew then I had to use Tom's will. But Greg's threat loomed, a new twist I couldn't ignore. I stood in the driveway, Sophie's small hand clutching mine, watching Lisa's car disappear down the street. Her anger lingered in the air, But so did my resolve. Tom's signed will, now tucked safely in my purse, felt like his voice guiding me. He'd left everything to Sophie, cutting James out to protect her. But Greg Carson's threat echoed in my mind, a dark cloud I couldn't shake. I knelt down, looking into Sophie's worried eyes. "We're okay, sweetheart," I said softly. "Your grandpa made sure of that." She nodded, but her voice trembled. "Is that man Greg going to hurt us?" I hugged her tight, hiding my own fear. "No, Sophie. I won't let him." Inside, I locked the door and called Mark, my hands still shaking from Lisa's outburst. "Mark, I found the signed will in Tom's safe deposit box," I said, my voice low. "Everything goes to Sophie's trust. But Greg Carson came to my house threatening me." Mark's tone was sharp. "Evelyn, don't talk to him again." I dug into Greg. "He's tied to some shady deals, loans, property flips. James owes him big and Greg's not patient." My stomach twisted. "What do I do?" I asked. Mark paused, then said, "File the will with the court. It's legal and it protects Sophie. I'll get a restraining order started against Greg. Can you send me Sophie's recording and Tom's documents?" I agreed, feeling a spark of hope. "I'll bring them tomorrow." After hanging up, I sat with Sophie, who was coloring at the table, trying to keep her calm. "Grandma, why does Dad owe that man money?" she asked, her crayon pausing. I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. "Your dad made some mistakes, sweetheart. But we're going to fix them." She looked at me, her eyes too wise for an 11-year-old. "Like Grandpa wanted?" I nodded, my throat tight. Exactly like Grandpa wanted. That night, I went through Tom's folder again, finding a receipt for a $25,000 payment to Greg, dated a month before Tom died. A note in Tom's handwriting said, "Last payment. No more." My heart sank. Tom thought he'd ended it, but Greg kept coming. Then I found a crumpled business card, Greg Carson, with a handwritten phone number on the back. It wasn't the same as his real estate office. I hesitated, then dialed it, my hands trembling. A woman answered, her voice sharp. "Who's this?" I swallowed hard. "Evelyn Parker. I'm looking for Greg Carson." She laughed cold. "He's busy. What do you want?" I gripped the phone. "Tell him to stay away from my family." She hung up, but not before I heard a man's voice in the background. Greg's, I was sure. My blood ran cold. Who was this woman? Another twist hit me. Sophie's diary mentioned Lisa talking to a woman named Claire about the beach house. Was this her? I wrote down the number, my mind racing. The next morning, I took Sophie to school, not wanting her to miss more classes. On the way, she whispered, "Grandma, I saw Mom's phone last week. She texted someone named Claire about selling the house fast." My hands tightened on the steering wheel. Did it say anything else? Sophie nodded. Claire said, "Greg needs his cut or he'll tell." "Tell what?" I forced a calm smile. "I'll find out, sweetheart. You just focus on school." After dropping her off, I drove to Mark's office, the folder of documents heavy in my bag. Mark looked grim as I handed over Sophie's recording, Tom's letter, the will, and the receipt. "This is enough to file the will and start a case against James," he said. "But Greg's a problem. I found out he's been pressuring other families too. He might come after you again." I felt a chill. "What does he want?" Mark leaned forward. "Money control. He uses people like James to get it. Tom was trying to stop him." I nodded, my resolve hardening. "Then we stop him too." That afternoon, I picked Sophie up from school. She ran to me, her backpack bouncing. "Grandma, I remembered something," she said, her voice urgent. "Mom told Claire you'd never find out because Grandpa didn't tell you." My heart skipped. Lisa knew Tom was hiding things from me. I hugged Sophie, whispering, "You're so brave." Back home, the phone rang. "James." I answered, bracing myself. "Mom, why are you doing this?" he yelled. "Lisa says you're turning Sophie against us." I kept my voice steady. "You turned yourself against us, James. You lied about the money and now Greg's threatening me." He went quiet, then muttered, "Greg's not my fault. Dad got involved with him." I snapped. "Don't blame your father. He was protecting you." James's voice cracked. "I didn't mean for this, Mom. I'm sorry." For a moment, I heard the boy I raised, but it wasn't enough. Prove it, I said. Tell me about Greg and Claire. He hung up, leaving me with silence. That night, I found an old photo album in the attic, Tom and me at our wedding, James as a baby. Tears fell as I traced Tom's smile. Then I saw a sticky note inside in Tom's writing. Check Claire's name on the deed. My heart stopped. The beach house deed? I dug through Tom's files, finding it. The deed listed Lisa and Claire Thompson as co-owners. Claire wasn't just a friend. She was in on the deal. I sat back, stunned. Tom had found this, too, and never told me. The lies kept piling up, but so did my strength. I looked at Sophie, asleep in the guest room, and knew I'd fight for her no matter what. I sat in the dim light of the living room. Sophie's diary open on the table. Her words about Lisa giving Claire a key burning in my mind. Greg's voicemail, his cold threat against Sophie, played on repeat in my head. My hands trembled as I saved it again, knowing it was evidence. Tom's will, now filed with Mark, was my anchor, but Greg and Claire were circling like wolves. Sophie slept upstairs, her soft breathing a reminder of why I had to keep going. I looked at Tom's photo on the mantel, his smile steady, and whispered, I'm trying, Tom. For her. The phone buzzed, startling me. It was Detective Harris, the contact Mark gave me. Mrs. Parker, I got your message about Greg Carson's threat, he said, his voice calm but firm. Can you come to the station tomorrow with the voicemail and any other evidence? I nodded, though he couldn't see. I'll bring everything, recordings, documents, the will. He paused, then added, be careful. Carson's known to us. He's slippery. My stomach churned. Known how? I asked. Harris sighed. Loan sharking, intimidation. He's careful, but we're building a case. I thanked him and hung up, my heart racing. Greg wasn't just a broker, he was a criminal. I went to Sophie's backpack, pulling out her diary again. Her latest entry said, Claire came to our house last night. Mom gave her a key and said, don't let Evelyn know. I'm scared. My blood ran cold. What was the key for? The beach house or something worse? I tucked the diary away, my mind spinning. The doorbell rang, sharp and late. I peeked through the curtain, my heart pounding. It was Karen, my neighbor, her face pale. I opened the door, whispering, Karen, it's late. What's wrong? She stepped inside, glancing around. Evelyn, I saw a car parked down the street all evening. Tinted windows, just sitting there. I think it's Greg. My knees felt weak. Did you see him? She shook her head. No, but after what you said, I'm worried. I hugged her, my voice steady despite the fear. Thank you, Karen. I'll call the police if I see it. She nodded and left, and I locked the door, checking every window. The house felt like a cage. The next morning, I took Sophie to school, scanning the street for that car. Nothing. At the police station, I met Detective Harris, a tall man with kind eyes. I played Greg's voicemail, handed over Sophie's recording, Tom's letter, and the beach house deed. Harris listened, his face grim. This is solid evidence, he said. The voicemail's enough for a restraining order. And the deed ties Claire to the property fraud. We'll look into her. I felt a flicker of relief. Who is she? I asked. Harris frowned. Claire Thompson's got a record, fraud mostly. She's worked with Greg before. My heart sank. Lisa was in deep with criminals. I left the station, my hands shaking but my resolve stronger. Back home, I found a note slipped under my door, no signature. Back off or Sophie pays. My breath caught. I called Harris, my voice shaking. Someone left a threat at my house. He told me to bring it in, and I did, my heart pounding. At the station, Harris bagged the note, his face serious. We'll dust for prints. Stay with someone tonight. I nodded, thinking of Karen. That afternoon, I picked Sophie up from school. She ran to me, her face pale. Grandma, I saw that man Greg, at the park near school. My blood froze. Did he talk to you? She shook her head. He just watched me. I hugged her, whispering, you're safe now. But I wasn't sure. I called Mark, my voice urgent. Greg's watching Sophie. The police have the note, but I'm scared. Mark's tone was firm. The will's filed, Evelyn. Sophie's trust is secure. I'm pushing the restraining order. Stay with a friend. I took Sophie to Karen's, where she felt safer. Karen made tea, her hands shaking. Evelyn, I heard Lisa talking to Claire at the grocery store yesterday, she said. Claire said they're selling something else to pay Greg. My heart skipped. Something else. Karen nodded. Lisa mentioned a storage unit. I felt a new twist, another secret. I thanked Karen and tucked Sophie into her guest bed, promising to stay close. That night, I searched Tom's files for any mention of a storage unit. I found a key with a tag. Unit 17 River Storage. My hands trembled. What were they hiding? The next morning, I drove to the storage facility, leaving Sophie with Karen. The unit was small, dusty, filled with boxes. Inside one, I found jewelry, my mother's necklace, Tom's watch, things I thought were lost. A note in Lisa's handwriting said, Claire, sell these for Greg's payment. My heart broke. They were stealing from our family to pay a criminal. I took photos, locked the unit, and called Harris. I found stolen jewelry in a storage unit Lisa's using, I said. He told me to bring the photos. At the station, Harris's face was grim. This ties Lisa to theft. We'll search the unit. I felt a mix of triumph and sorrow. Lisa's betrayal cut deep. Back at Karen's, Sophie hugged me, her voice small. Grandma, is Mom in trouble? I nodded, stroking her hair. She made bad choices, sweetheart. But you're safe. That evening, James called, his voice desperate. Mom, stop this. Lisa says you're ruining us. I gripped the phone. You ruined us, James. You stole from Dad, and now Greg's after Sophie. He went quiet, then whispered, I didn't know it'd go this far. I softened, just for a moment. Help me stop Greg then. He hung up, leaving me with hope and doubt. I looked at Sophie sleeping, and knew I'd fight on for Tom's legacy. I sat at Karen's kitchen table, the weight of James's desperate voice on the phone still heavy in my chest. His whispered, I didn't know it'd go this far, echoed, stirring a flicker of hope that he might help stop Greg, but doubt lingered. Sophie slept in the guest room. Her small form curled under a blanket, safe for now. The photos of the stolen jewelry from the storage unit burned in my mind. My mother's necklace, Tom's watch, pieces of our family Lisa and Claire planned to sell to pay Greg Carson. Tom's will, now filed, protected Sophie, but Greg's threats and Claire's schemes felt like a tightening noose. I clutched Tom's letter, his words urging me to protect Sophie, and felt his strength pushing me forward. The clock ticked past midnight, but sleep wouldn't come. I called Detective Harris, my voice low to not wake Sophie. Detective, I gave you the storage unit photos, I said. Any news on Lisa or Claire? Harris's voice was steady. We searched the unit. Found more stolen items, jewelry, antiques. Lisa's fingerprints were on the boxes. We're bringing her in for questioning tomorrow. My heart sank, but relief followed. And Claire? I asked. He paused. She's gone quiet, but we traced her to Greg. They're partners, not just in the beach house deal. Stay vigilant. I thanked him, my hands shaking. Partners? The web of lies kept growing. I hung up, staring at Sophie's diary, her words about Claire and the key haunting me. What did it unlock? I needed answers before Greg made good on his threat. The next morning, I took Sophie to school, my eyes scanning for Greg's car. She hugged me tight, whispering, Grandma, I'm scared for Mom. I stroked her hair, my voice soft. I know, sweetheart. But we're doing this to keep you safe, like Grandpa wanted. She nodded, her eyes wet, and ran to class. At home, I found a voicemail from Mark. Evelyn, the restraining order against Greg is in place. The court's reviewing the will. James might contest it, but with the evidence he'll lose. Call me. I felt a spark of triumph. Tom's will was solid. But James contesting it? My heart ached for the boy he once was, but his choices had broken us. I called Mark back, my voice steady. What's next? He sighed. We prepare for a hearing. Bring Sophie's diary. It shows Lisa's intent. And stay away from James and Lisa. I agreed, but worry not at me. Lisa's questioning could push Greg to act. That afternoon, Karen called, her voice urgent. Evelyn, I saw Claire at the storage place today loading a car. I took a picture. My heart raced. Send it to me. The photo showed Claire, her face tense, stuffing bags into a sedan. I forwarded it to Harris, my hands trembling. He called back instantly. Good catch. We're tracking her. She's meeting Greg tonight at a motel. My stomach twisted. What do I do? I asked. Harris's tone was firm. Nothing. Let us handle it. Keep Sophie close. I picked Sophie up early, not taking chances. She climbed into the car, her face pale. Grandma, my teacher said Mom didn't pick me up yesterday because she's in trouble. Is that true? I took a deep breath, choosing honesty. Yes, sweetheart. Your mom made some bad decisions, but I'm here for you. She nodded, tears falling. I just want Grandpa back. I hugged her, my own tears spilling. Me too, Sophie. At Karen's, I tucked Sophie in, then checked my phone. A text from an unknown number. You can't hide Sophie forever. Pay up. My blood froze. I sent it to Harris, who called immediately. It's Greg. We're closing in. Stay put. But staying put felt like waiting for a storm. I went through Tom's files again, desperate for anything I'd missed. In a folder labeled insurance, I found a policy for the jewelry, listing me as the beneficiary. A note from Tom said, if anything happens, claim this. Don't let James touch it. My heart broke. Tom knew James might try to take it. Then I found a receipt for a safe deposit box rental, not the one I'd checked, but another bank. My hands shook as I grabbed the key from Tom's desk, labeled First Trust. Another twist. What else was he hiding? The next day, I left Sophie with Karen and drove to First Trust Bank. The clerk opened the box, revealing a small envelope and a USB drive. The envelope held a letter from Tom, dated the day he died. Evelyn, if you're here, you know about Greg and Claire. The USB has proof, recordings of James promising to pay Greg with our money. I confronted him that morning. He was angry. Protect Sophie. Tears fell as I plugged the USB into my laptop. James's voice tense. Dad, I'll pay Greg. Just don't tell Mom. Tom, calm but firm. No more lies, James. This ends now. The call cut off. My heart stopped. Tom confronted James hours before his heart attack. Could the stress have? No, I pushed the thought away, but it lingered. I gave the USB to Harris, who listened, his face grim. This strengthens the fraud case, he said. We're arresting Claire tonight. Greg's next. That evening, Lisa called, her voice frantic. Evelyn, they're questioning me. You did this. I gripped the phone. You stole from us, Lisa. You put Sophie in danger. She sobbed. I didn't mean to. Greg pushed us. I softened, but only slightly. Tell the police everything. She hung up, and I felt a pang of pity, but Sophie was my priority. At Karen's, Sophie drew a picture of Tom, her eyes sad. Grandma, will Dad hate me? She asked. I hugged her. No, sweetheart. He's lost, but you're not to blame. A new twist hit. Karen overheard Claire mention a second property, not the beach house. Another secret to unravel. But I was ready, for Sophie and Tom. I stood in Karen's living room. The faint hum of Sophie's pencil scratching paper filling the quiet. Her drawing of Tom, with his kind smile, sat on the table, a reminder of why I'd fought so hard. Karen's words about Claire mentioning a second property echoed in my mind. A final puzzle piece in the web of lies spun by James, Lisa, Greg, and Claire. Tom's will, now upheld by the court, secured Sophie's future, but Greg's threats and Claire's schemes lingered like shadows. I clutched the USB drive with James's confession. My heart heavy but resolute. Sophie looked up, her eyes searching. Grandma, is it over? She asked, her voice small. I sat beside her, stroking her hair. Almost, sweetheart. We're going to make sure you're safe. She nodded, leaning into me. And I felt Tom's strength in her trust. The phone rang. Detective Harris. Evelyn, we arrested Claire last night, he said, his voice steady. She's talking, implicating Greg and Lisa. We're raiding Greg's office today. My heart lifted, but I asked, what about the second property Karen heard about? Harris paused. Claire mentioned a condo in Miami, bought with stolen money. We're checking the deed. I thanked him, my mind racing. A condo? Another betrayal. I hung up, looking at Sophie. Things are getting better, I said, keeping my voice light. She smiled, but her eyes held worry. That morning, I drove to Mark's office, leaving Sophie with Karen. Mark greeted me, his face tired but hopeful. The will's airtight, he said. James tried to contest it, but with the evidence, Sophie's recordings, Tom's letters, the USB, he's got no case. The court's freezing his accounts until the fraud investigation's done. I nodded, relief mixing with sorrow. And Greg? I asked. Mark's eyes darkened. The police are closing in. Claire's confession ties him to the theft and threats. I handed him the photos of the stolen jewelry. This was in Lisa's storage unit, I said. He nodded, adding them to the file. This'll help. Back at Karen's, Sophie ran to me, holding a letter. Grandma, this came for you at school. My heart skipped. It was from James, his handwriting shaky. I opened it, my hands trembling. Mom, I'm sorry. I let Lisa and Greg pull me in. I didn't mean to hurt you or Sophie. I'm telling the police everything. My throat tightened. Was this real? Or another lie? I called Harris, reading him the letter. James turned himself in an hour ago, Harris said. He's confessing to the fraud, naming Greg as the mastermind. I felt a weight lift, but pain lingered. My son, lost to greed, was trying to make amends. That afternoon, Harris called again. We got Greg, he said. Found him at the motel with documents linking him to the condo and the beach house. Lisa's facing charges too. I closed my eyes, relief washing over me. And Sophie? I asked. Harris's voice softened. She's safe. The restraining order's permanent. I thanked him, tears falling. At Karen's, I hugged Sophie, telling her, It's over, sweetheart. You're safe now. She cried, whispering, I miss Grandpa. I held her, my heart breaking and healing at once. The next week, I went to court for the final hearing. James sat across from me, his face pale, Lisa beside him, her eyes down. The judge upheld Tom's will, granting Sophie's trust full control of our assets. James's lawyer argued for leniency, citing his confession, but the judge was firm. You betrayed your family, she said. Your daughter's future is secure despite you. James looked at me, his eyes wet. I'm sorry, Mom, he whispered. I nodded, unable to speak, my heart torn between love and loss. Lisa said nothing, her silence louder than words. After, I took Sophie to the park, where she and Tom used to swing. She laughed, her voice free, and I felt Tom's presence. Grandma, can I add Grandpa's name to mine? She asked, her eyes bright. I smiled, tears falling. Of course, Sophie. He'd love that. We filed the paperwork, and Sophie became Sophie Evelyn Thomas Parker, a tribute to Tom and me. Back home, I found Tom's old journal, a final entry I'd missed. Evelyn, you're stronger than you know. Protect our girl. I cried, feeling his love across time. Months later, Sophie thrived, her trust funding her school and dreams. James and Lisa faced trial, their lies exposed. Greg was convicted, his schemes unraveled. I visited Tom's grave, placing Sophie's drawing beside it. We did it, I whispered. The moral lesson hit me hard. Truth and love outlast betrayal. Protecting those who matter. Sophie, Tom's legacy, gave me strength I never knew I had. I walked away, Sophie's hand in mine, ready for whatever came next, knowing Tom's love guided us still. If you're listening, please like, subscribe, and share a life lesson in the comments. It might help someone find their strength too.